So I saw there were like 5 people waiting or something. So it ain't gonna be crickets. Hopefully.
No. Hopefully, we got some folks in here. All right, we ought to be live. Welcome to Muddy Feet Concrete Pumping, and we have Caleb with Concrete Pumping Services, and we have Scott with Canadian Concrete Pumper. So,
Got to thank you, Jeff, for putting all this together too. This is kind of Jeff spearheaded this whole thing and got it all queued up. So big thanks to you for that.
Yes, thank you.
well, I hope it's something we can grow. I don't know how often we'll be able to get all in together. I don't, like Darren's not here right now. I left him a link to hop on in case he can, but it's there for him. But we'll see. But I'm hoping we can get all four of us and then bring in some guests. I've got some guys I'd like to bring out and hang out with us for 20, 30 minutes, some questions. I'm sure y'all have some people too that would be good to come on here.
Absolutely. Oh, we got our first comment.
Yep. There's another one. Hey guys, from Matt and Michael. Minn Kota Manufacturing. I'm curious about that. What's is that? Is that Minnesota MN Kota? What is that manufacturing? Hey Travis, how's it going? Yeah, you get East Coast pumpers.
Yeah, I recognize a few of these names. There's definitely some regulars in here.
Yeah. So there's Max. Max has been a really good guy. He's been. I've seen him a long time on here.
Chris Diller, there's the guy. He works with Devlin there at New Way in Texas. Devlin's quite prominent on the Facebook pages there.
Okay, yeah.
Super knowledgeable guy.
Atlanta Concrete Pump Partners, yeah.
So I feel kind of bad about the whole sponge challenge there. I have a video coming out this week where I explain in detail a little bit more about it, but I sort of just threw it in at the end of one of my videos. So I think a lot of people are seeing these shorts and don't know what's going on. So I'm wondering if we should explain a little bit better. But before we do that, Jeff, I brought something here. I want to put this right beside me here. I don't want to insinuate anything or jump to conclusions, but it's got some funny little drawing on it. I don't know if you can see that a little better.
Oh yeah.
So we're just gonna sit that right here. I think it just adds a little bit of ambiance to the chat.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna end up with a footprint on the side of it too.
100%. So what's the deal with the sponge ball challenge? And I kind of dropped the ball. I haven't even come up with what the consequence is going to be for the first guy to cut, lose, chop, whatever their sponge. What's it going to be? Has anybody thought about this?
I've had some ideas, but it just depends on, kind of what I've had in mind. We'd all have to get together at some point, like by supper or something,
Well, I'm thinking World of Concrete, like you guys.
Hey, I was thinking that too. I will definitely be there.
I'm not sure if Darren's going or not. I haven't heard from him, but hopefully he'll make it down as well.
Yeah. Surely we can talk him into it.
but we will come up with something shortly here collectively.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. Give us a week or so. Give us some time. We don't want to rush this.
I need some rules because I've already hit the water with one sponge, and you said that's a big no.
Well, I was kind of hoping it would roll away in the lake, and I don't know if you guys have alligators or crocodiles down there. Part of me was a small part was kind of hoping that maybe you do, or maybe some bull sharks. I don't know, but you did get it back. That's good to see. I'm happy about that. I honestly think I'm going to be the first guy to lose or sacrifice a sponge, because I suck them back all the time, and I'm using a 2.5-inch sponge, and I mostly run 2-inch hose. So there's a decent chance it's going to pull that thing right into the hopper and cut it in half on the S-valve. So I will say right now, I think I will be the first one out. I hope not, but full honesty, I think I'm going to be the guy.
I just, all of my stuff ends up in my elbow. I've never gotten anything into the valve. So
it takes a determined effort, let me tell you. I somehow done it. But you got one of them weird rock valve things, right? I think that might be the difference. Or that guy right there is going to get at it. There's where your sponge is going. Yeah, it'll be a chew toy.
I'm sorry, guys. The hound doesn't want to leave me tonight.
It's all good.
Which I have to admit, we have a connection. She's only got 3 legs. So, and with me having nine toes, we've got a big connection with each other.
Oh, absolutely. I could see that for sure. Well, that was an interesting story, Jeff, about you mentioned the other day that story and then showed me your logo. And I never actually clued into that. I don't know if you want to get into that or do a brief explanation, but I thought it was a really cool story anyhow. And I never picked up on the logo and the meaning behind it.
Yeah. And it's, it happened when I was 3 years old, of course. And I hate, when first thing people think is lack of parental supervision, which back in the 70s, it really wasn't. I mean, it was kind of, you know, just do as you will and not get in trouble.
Even
And
in the 80s and 90s, really, it's
right,
yeah, the
right.
2000s
So,
really kind of watered everything down, I would say. So
but it happened where, my cousin and I, we were just, we had a neighbor next door on a riding mower. We went over to go see him and kind of, chase him, have fun, and, poor guy. And bless his heart, he didn't know, he didn't see me back there and backed up and I got run over by the riding mower. So, that's how that happened. So, um, it's one of those deals that, um, my the shirts Muddy Feet come about more or less a parody to my wife and a buddy of mine's girlfriend. Um, he and I would sit on the back porch and pick guitars and just have a heck of a time. Of course, they all, said y'all won't ever do anything this. And I think his girlfriend said, I'll kiss your butt on Main Street if y'all ever play live somewhere and get paid. Well, that gave us motivation. So we actually started printing shirts with my footprints and Muddy Feet before we even formed a band. And so that's really how Muddy Feet got started. Well, then he and I,
legitimately with your actual footprint.
that was my nine toes. Yes.
That's so cool.
The footprint you see on the side of my truck or see on my logos.
It's the real deal.
That's where it went from. So we were actually a cover band before we were even a concrete pump company.
Really? And you guys are playing country music, rock and roll? What do you play?
Yeah, Southern rock, Texas country type stuff.
Well, I want to see something in a video coming up. A couple of riffs. I tried to copy your song there or pay tribute to it when you drain the hoses, but I don't think it came off as smooth and seamlessly as when you do it. You got that one song you sing every time you drain a hose. My Canadian rendition of it was failed abysmally. It was pretty sad.
That's who's that? That's the band. I think it sings that "Take a Load Off, Man."
Yeah, I can't. There's a trivia question right now to the commenters. What band is that? First one to answer gets a pat on the back. I don't recall offhand what band it was.
Probably a year ago. I mean, honestly, doing these videos just got to be kind of monotonous. It's pumping concrete. It's just kind of the same thing. And I just thought, man, I've got to change this up or I'm gonna, it's just burn out and have to stop. And that's kind of how the Will It Plugs stuff came about, and then just, throwing a tune out there, singing a song, just something to break it up and have some fun with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. When you're doing the same kind of stuff every day, we get into that sort of groove and whatnot. Have you ever noticed how interesting it is when you get a video that hits big and gets a lot of views? Quite often it's not the video that you put all the effort into. It's not the one that you think is going to be big. It's one of those days where you weren't even going to film and you just pop the camera out and next thing you know, everybody's watching it. And I have like my videos that I put my heart and soul into got very few views. The one I did last week where I ran over the pumpkins with the 58 meter pump, I put so much work into that. Not even 1,000 views. I thought it was great. Nobody liked it. My daughter thought it was great, but none of the viewers watched it. I don't know. It's just one of those things, right?
Yeah. What about you, Caleb? Your biggest video so far? What do you think got that going for you?
Oh, my biggest video. So probably it was the title. I think the title really sold it, and it was 911 emergency pump call. Because they the pool company, they have a old 1997 Mustang that they put, God, I don't even want to know, over 10 grand into fixing this thing, and then it broke down 1 yard into the first pool they started shooting with it after they got it fixed. So they called me up and I just happened to have nothing going on that day, so I ran over and did the job, and I think the title is what really sold it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very relatable too. That's how we got a lot of our work back in the day, was jumping in at times like that. That's kind of how our company sort of got rolling, and maybe we talk about that later. We could give our respective backstories, how we got into it, what our positions are, and whatnot. But that's yeah, a lot of our work was just doing overflow back in the day. My brother and I, and we had one or two other guys, and just kind of slugging it out. And when I watch Caleb's channel, he reminds me, I assume you're probably a few years younger than me. I'm 44.
Right.
So you remind me of myself when I was younger, like 100 miles an hour. I can tell you're out there 1,000% trying to do the best job you can to keep the customer happy. And that honestly is how we got 90% of our good work, was just going out there and doing a good job. It wasn't banging on trailer doors, handing out cards. It took time. It definitely took time. And we're not some big mega company or anything right now by any means. I don't want to make it sound like that's what I'm saying. But we've come a long way from where we were, and it was just slugging it out in the trenches. And just from watching you, you're definitely on the right path. It just takes time.
It's definitely a lot slower around here because there is no other line pump around here, and people don't really understand where you can use it, how you can use it. They want to just use their mud buggies, your Georgia buggies is what everyone else calls it. They have it called mud buggies around here, but
Yeah.
they're married to them. But it's hard to convince them, but we'll get there eventually.
Do you find the battle for a line pumpable mix versus the stuff they're using with the Georgia buggies, is there a significant increase in cost for that line pumpable mix? And is that a battle that you kind of have to fight a little bit as well?
I have definitely been debating on whether or not to get 3-inch hose just to get my foot in the door, just to get these guys to use me, and then slowly talk them in to be like, hey, feel this 2-inch hose. Look how much easier it would be to drag this around, how much easier it would be to hold this to do it. So I might break down and get some 3-inch hose next season, but I've had to give up probably 6-8 jobs just because they've called me and it's been an emergency, but it's been a 3/4 inch or 1-inch rock, and it's been 200 feet plus, and
Right.
and I just can't do that, and it breaks my heart to tell them no, but I can't do it.
I got that call Friday mid morning. A guy, he was too far away from me. Plus, he needed 350 foot of hose. He had two mixers stuck, and then of course the pump. But you learn, the first question I asked him, I was like, well, "What kind of mix do you have?" Because I mean, I just can't put regular mix in my pump. So it's one of those deals. 3-inch hose works really great for those kinds of situations, but you still have attention to your rocks and your amount of sand that's in it. So, but that's how I my best customers is just being there at the right place at the right time and having that just I'll do anything to make this work attitude.
Yep.
That's what I like about your setup, Jeff, is it's so simple because it's all 3-inch. You don't have 5 different reducers, 30 different clamps. Like it's obviously heavier than what I'm used to working with for the most part. But I think it really simplifies things and takes a lot of the variables out of the equation, right? Like I'm sure if you pull up to a job with the 3-inch hose you have and it won't pump through 3-inch, end of story. There's no, I show up with a bunch of 2-inch, it won't pump. I try 2.5, it won't pump. I throw in some 3, okay, now it pumps. Well, now we've opened the door to the customer saying, well, the pump company used the wrong size hose to start with, yada, yada, yada. Like, I like what you're doing in that regard. My back might not like it as much, but I totally agree with the way you're doing it. Absolutely. So,
yeah, you got to have some leg behind you to work it and to move it and to be able to get it, where you need it, and dragging hoses and things like that. And on occasion, I find myself popping 2 or 3 Advils at the end of the day.
a couple whiskey and cokes or what?
Yeah.
I'm looking at one of the comments here right now from Invincible M. Harsh mixes here make 3-inch unreliable to use. So hats off to those guys, because there's a lot of markets where they're dragging 4 and 5-inch hose around. I will acknowledge that I am so spoiled in our market with using the small line that we do. I'm always running around harping on guys with small booms saying, what's the point? Throw an extra 50 feet of hose on. When you're dealing with 2 and 2.5-inch hose, I can say that, but the guys running 4-inch line, I'm sure a small boom getting rid of any of that 4 or 5-inch line you can. There's obviously some merit to that. So it's all situational based on what area you're in. You guys know how it is. Like what works and what I do. Go 2 hours south, it might be a total failure for somebody else. So it's there is definitely no one size fits all in this business. Would be my overall take on things to summarize it.
Well, our rock is different depending on which side of the Metroplex you're on. If you're on the north side of the Metroplex, then you're going to get crushed limestone or crushed granite, depending on which side of that north side you're on. And then if you're on south side of the Metroplex, you're going to get river rock. And I can tell you, and you know from experience that big river rock will go a lot of times when 3/4 inch crushed stone won't go. So that those smooth edges just make life so much easier when it comes to that part of it. Another thing, the rock valve on that pump of mine, a lot of times it won't allow that mix to get into my system to cause me problems. So it wouldn't matter if I had 5-inch hose tied onto the back of my pump. It's not going to fall down in there and get into the cylinders, because what happens is ends up happening is just all that rock sits up there and floats on top of that valve, and you're just pushing a bunch of air and material. So those rock valves, they keep you out of trouble a lot of times from those harsher mixes that's not got enough sand to get it down for you.
That's one of my stories from back when I first started, early 2000s. Back when we were doing a lot of rental work. Most of our jobs, we're showing up sight unseen. We have no idea what's going on until we get there. Show up there, 1-inch crushed rock, which for our area is unheard of. They're filling an elevator pit in a high-rise retrofit downtown Vancouver. 1989 Putzmeister TSS 45. I wish I had a picture and knew how to put it up, but this is an old pump. And every load, you'd have to pump that hopper down, get your bar, and knock all the rock in from the sides, because like Jeff's saying, it just stacks up there. Won't even feed into the cylinders. The tube can't even shift over. The only 4-inch line that we had at the time was sitting around our yard, 15-year-old line from back when they had the Thompson 845. It didn't use boom elbows. It used wire braided hoses. So we had all this 4-inch wire braided hose, like 200 feet of it, just a freaking nightmare. To look back on it now, I can't believe I did it, and I can't ever see in our market hiring somebody on of the new generation that would put up with it. Like our guys will complain about 200 feet of 2-inch hose. This was just like unreal. And that's my walked uphill to school, in the snow, uphill both ways kind of story. But yeah, it kind of triggers on or harps on what Jeff was saying there about it just wouldn't feed in there. And you're using a bar to manually do it. And all I can say is I'm glad that I haven't seen that in the 20 years since. So
yeah, that sounds like a bad deal. I've got a Ben BNC. He's asking what a rock valve was. A rock valve after all. The rock valve, and you may have to help me there, Scott. Is a I don't know if it's patented by Schwing or it's developed by Schwing, and it's got a great big fat end on the discharge side, and then it's got a small end on where the mud comes in from the material cylinders. There's nothing like the S tube. I mean, it's just this big bulky valve sitting at the bottom of your pump, and I don't know why they call it the rock valve, but it just works that way.
The way it was described to me, the principle of it, the way that it opens it up at the back of the hopper, and the valve shifts over, and half of it is blocked off by that mirror plate.
Yeah,
is that concrete on that side of the valve obviously stops, and the flow of concrete on the other side of the valve, you have concrete on concrete. And what I was told is in terms of wear and whatnot, because you're pushing concrete on concrete, not concrete on steel, that it made it more durable. Now, I don't know if that was engineered into it or if that's just some sales pitch that they came up with after the fact. But it's funny, if you ask 100 different guys, half will say the S-tube pumps a harsher mix, half will say the rock tube does. I've never had a definitive answer from anybody exactly as to why, or a breakdown as to why. But to me, I'm just going to throw it up there as inconclusive. I'm sure some of the commenters here might know. There's one guy, Greg Huey. He watches all my videos. He's got his own channel. Just broke the cherry on a brand new 63-meter Putzmeister. This guy is extremely experienced and really knows his stuff. Greg, if you know and you want to throw down in the comment, or in the comments. What do you think, rock valve versus S2? I'd love to hear your take on it because I definitely respect your knowledge and opinion on this kind of stuff. So if you want to chime in, the floor is yours, buddy. Very, very knowledgeable guy. I wish I remembered his channel. Type in Gray QE. He's got a ton of YouTube videos. They're all 1.5 to 2 minutes, but he's got some really, really cool stuff on there.
If he'll get with one of us, we'll get him in here one day, and
That would be great. Yeah, good
get him
guy.
to join us. So just get with one of us. You know, I keep my email in my description or somewhere on my page. I'm so sure y'all do too. Get with us, and we'll bring you in on this. As far as, I mean, my boom pumps have the S tube. Of course, the trailer has the rock valve. The far as wear parts, it's a 2 to 3 hour deal for me to break the back end of that pump completely down, replace all the parts, and put it back together. Now the trucks by myself, that's a 6 hour deal if I don't have any issues on that. So there's a lot more goes into replacing the wear parts and stuff on the S tubes than it is the rock valves.
And what about the myth, Jeff, of the kidney seal? If you dry stroke it, that you're going to destroy it, and it's a high maintenance item and whatnot on the back side of the hopper there. Do you find any truth to that whatsoever? What's your experience?
If you as far as the rock valve go, to me, if you dry stroke it too long, then there's a rubber seal on the back side of the rock valve called a kidney seal, and you're going to start peeling the rubber off of that. That's really that. And then of course you do have a cutting ring and a wear plate, but that's no different than what the S tube has on the front side of it. So the kidney seal you'll burn up. I mean, you can, if you do it for a long time, you can burn the rubber up on that.
But it takes a determined effort and a lot of negligence to get there. In your opinion, is that fair to say?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, you hear a lot of myths and old tales in this industry, and it's tough to sift through the BS from the truth, and so much of it is opinion, and it's tough to, without having the experience yourself with the variables in your particular area, to really come up with a good educated opinion. So I just find asking around, it can kind of guide you, but at the same time it can misguide you as well. It's kind of a tough one.
Yeah. I made the mistake. I caught it pretty quick on this video I posted this morning of I had drained the water box and started pumping, and I looked just out of habit. I looked down, I was like, oh heck, I forgot water.
I saw that in today's video. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably went 20-25 strokes without having water in the water box. So
I've heard that's critical on a swing because they'll have a tendency when the hydraulics cool off, they can pull water back in through those chevron seals and contaminate the oil. And because it's mechanical shifting with a lot of small valves and orifices, that water can wreak havoc. I've been told it's not as critical on a puts, and I will fully admit here, on the puts, I honestly clean my water box once every couple months. I just leave the thing not full, but I just top it up daily. And I've never had issues personally, or maybe I just don't know any better. But it's an interesting opinion or take on things. What do you guys do? Do you drain the box every day? Do you empty it? Even in the wintertime, I'll throw some antifreeze in mine just so I'm not dumping it every day. What do the guys in the comments think? What do you do, Caleb? What's your opinion?
I personally drain it every day, and then I'll probably give it a good rinse. After probably every third or fourth pump, I'll wash it out just because, I fill it up with water off the concrete truck, and that's recycled water, so you never know what's actually inside that water when you're putting it in there. So, and every once in a while, you'll see a little sand in there, a little buildup. So we'll just wash it out about every third or fourth pump. That way I know I got nice clean water every time.
I prefer them to be drained, not every day. And my reason being is, if you drain them every day and put clean water in there, I don't think you get the tell signs that you're starting to need. Your wear cups are starting to get worn. If you wait a day or two to do it or so, then you're able to actually see maybe a little bit of grout forming or the water starting to change colors on you, and it starts telling me, okay, we're a week or two. We need to get some mud cups coming. I like to. That's how I like to do it.
Yeah, it seems fair and makes sense. One of my lame excuses might be in a lot of our areas we're set up in the city. I can't just dump the box for
Yeah.
enviro reasons. It leaves that green kind of film on the asphalt, so we just can't do it. But honestly, it's just me. I call it being lazy. I haven't noticed any benefit with the Putzmeister anyhow from doing it every day. I'm sure it wouldn't hurt, and it would probably be better even if it were just slightly better. I'm guilty. I don't do it. So I was
Yeah.
looking at
Well,
some of the comments in here from some of the guys with regards to this.
yeah, Chris is saying drain every day, and I mean, I've heard when I was who's the guy at DY that you named him off?
Darcy, awesome guy.
Darcy. I was
Yeah.
talking to him about it, and he's flat out. You drain it every day.
Yeah.
You pump
Okay.
2 yards, you pump 200. You drain it every day. So
And he's a smart guy. I would never argue with him. So he's probably
no,
onto something.
no, and I give him the same thing I told you, and he's like, nah, I said I want them drained every day. So
Greg makes a good point there. The full mark is just below the chevron seals. And I remember one of Jeff's videos, you pointed that out too. Keep the water just below that seal so it doesn't get drawn back in.
yeah. And that's what I've been told. I've had that trailer pump. I've had the seals replaced one time, and it's 10 years old. So this just happened one time, and but I keep the water below halfway, and that way I shouldn't have that issue of pulling water into the system. So, but I've never had it happen.
So Jeff, there was talk about maybe a new trailer pump. You want to bring us up to speed on what's going on? That was in one of your videos, so I don't think it's a secret.
No, it's not a secret. It's not a secret.
What's going on with that? Because I'm a little bit attached to Little Jewel, and we've got a 2017, 2018 TK60 HP right now that's been down for 3 weeks because of emissions related issues.
Yeah.
And I think Little Jewel is pre-emissions.
Yes,
I believe.
It's just diesel, oil, and air is all it takes to run that thing.
So what are the chances you might just keep rolling with her? What are you thinking?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, my heart wants to say keep it, keep it around. But financially, with what used equipment's bringing, I just you thinking I may ought to have to just cash in because that thing's bringing what I pretty much gave for it.
Well, it's insane what the resale is on used trailer pumps, like used truck mounted or city pumps. The depreciation on them is at least double what the trailers is. The trailers has always been really, really strong, and I don't know why. I'm sure there's good reason. We don't have a lot of trailers in our market other than like the shotcrete and shoring guys, but most of us pump companies we run city pumps, we run truck mounts.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's insane what you can recoup after 10 years of running the things.
Yeah. But no, I am planning on buying a 750 18 is what I'm planning on buying. I'm not sure if I'll get that done this year or not. We've kind of come up with a hiccup with with our previous, I guess you could say, accountant, and so he's kind of put me behind. And so I'm trying to get caught up there before I go any further at the moment. But no, and it's funny, Carl Walker at Longhorn Line Pumps and Central Concrete Pumping in Fort Worth, I get a text about every other day. Matter of fact, he sent me a picture. He's like, this thing's waiting for you.
Well, if you noticed in the last 6 months, these guys have been getting a lot more hungry. I think because the economy's shifting, there's been a lot of canceled orders. Things have definitely changed for sure. I've noticed anyhow on our end in our area.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at the interest rates and stuff. The thing is, what I've learned with especially these equipment, these finance companies for equipment. I've always went through my local bank. They've always treated me good, and that's just where I've always done my business. But these finance guys, they find me on here, they find me, other places and stuff. And I've talked to a couple of them, and there's some drawbacks to it because I tend to pay stuff off early, and there's some penalty for doing that. They have a few more fees to go along with your monthly payment, and it's just one of those things. I just stick with my local banks and run that route with it. And the interest rates from where they're at now, if you go with a finance company like the equipment finance companies that I've talked to, if when interest rates come back down, it seems like it was going to be you're going to have a harder time getting your interest rate adjusted for it versus a local bank. You could go back and refinance and get the
Right,
lower
right.
interest rates.
We had that debate a few years ago too, financing through the bank versus leasing, and the leasing company, it was a couple tenths of a point higher on the rate, but far better options in terms of early buyout and whatnot. There was less penalties that way because you mentioned the penalties earlier too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, totally depends. And our bank would drag their heels and honestly take 6 months to a year to come back with an answer. The finance company that we've used, and she's actually, I'll drop her name, I don't care. Beth with Travelers, and she's really heavily embedded in the pump industry. She works with all the major companies. Answers within 2 or 3 days, and the banks were taking 6 months, so they were like top notch that way. So
Yeah.
since about 6-7 years ago, maybe longer now, we've just kind of done everything with them. But I mean, once again, it's another one of those things. It's probably going to change based on everybody's situation, where you're at, and what works for me might not work for you. But I will say, Travelers was like super easy to deal with. They made things happen really quick. So
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Well, that's part of it. It'll be one day. So hopefully soon we'll get that thing in here.
So here's a question, and everybody this has been come up in my comment section a lot, and I've not really touched on it, and people want to put it in a video or whatever. What's everybody's history with pumping? How did you get into it from the start? What's your story basically? I don't know if Caleb or Jeff, you
Oh,
want to
I
start?
say I'll start. So I worked for the pool company that I shoot for all the time. You see me in my videos all the time. I worked for them, and then I was kind of new, so I wouldn't actually be down in the hole helping, shotcrete the pool. I was the guy standing outside. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. So they didn't have to get in and out of the pool, and then I'd help the pump guy. And whenever he got a plug, I would go over and help him get it out and all that stuff. And every time he came down, he would complain. He was driving 4 hours one way, 8 hour round trip. He'd complain, "Why am I coming down here? I don't need to do this. I hate doing this." But he'd come down because he knew there was nobody else around here. And I went and talked with the owner, and I was like, "Hey, let's start this." And I said, "We can do more than just pools. We can pump everything, try to pump everything, as long as people would use us." And he was all for it. So that's just kind of how we got into it. I went up and trained with him for it was only like a week and a half. I went up there for 2 weeks, but the first week I went, it was trying to find a truck. I needed to find a truck, and it was like the height of the pandemic. So finding a used truck at a decent price that wasn't all beat up and rusty and had 500,000 miles on it, was very difficult. So I spent probably a good 2.5 days trying to find a truck. Went and drove around and test drove some and looked at them. And so I only got about a half a week of training on my setup, and then I went back up there the next week and got a full week, and then thrown to the wolves, came back here and started pumping all by myself with pretty much no safety net. It was couldn't if my pump broke down, I can't call someone to be like, "Hey, you want to come make a little extra money and finish this job for me?" And it's none of that around here. It's just 100% all me, always has been, and hopefully it won't always will be. Hopefully we can expand and get another 2-3 pumps in however long that takes. But hopefully we can get there. That way I got to back up if something does go wrong.
And how long has it been now that you've been pumping for?
March of 22 is when we started.
Oh shoot! So you're really new.
Yeah, I've only been doing it for about a year and a half.
Wouldn't have known it
Almost.
from watching you out there, man. You look like
Yeah,
a
I'd have
plus year
never
guy.
guessed that. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
We I started I was already pouring concrete and doing all the finishing and setting up and all that kind of stuff. And we bought a house down in the Metroplex, and it needed quite a bit of work on the outside. It had a lot of drainage issues and things like that. So I went in, excavated a bunch of material out of the way, set up some retaining walls, and called a friend of mine named Sean Tracy, who's with 4T Concrete Pumping, and asked him about how do I get this concrete back here? What any access for a wheelbarrow? And he's like, well, you need a lime pump. So okay, how do? So he said, well, here's a couple of numbers. Call them that they can help you. And I actually called one, and there was like 4 days out to get that pump to me. So I finally got it scheduled. I pumped the retaining walls, about 7 yards of concrete, about 75 foot of hose. I, I pay them 600 and something dollars and change. So, okay. Well, I mean, I've had pumps on my jobs before, so that's just the price of doing business. So then it come time for the patio, and it's the same song and dance. You got everything ready, wait 3 or 4 days, and finally got a different pump company to come out. And they come out and they trailer pump, 75 feet of hose, 8 yards of concrete. And I look at my buddy and I write them a check for almost $700. And I look at my buddy who's we weren't partners, but we just worked together. And I go, there's lots of days that we we work all day long and don't make near that kind of money. And these guys were here for 3 hours and drove off with almost $700. And I told him, I said, I think we're going to look into buying us a concrete pump. And that's what we did. We researched, got with a guy named of Tim Wade with Concrete Iron. And the funny thing with Tim is he's in Roanoke, Texas, which is not that far away. We it was almost a job interview for him to sell me a trailer pump. I had to go and meet him, and he had a ton of questions and all that. And he finally goes, "Okay, I'll sell you a trailer pump." He wouldn't sell anybody a trailer pump. I mean, he wanted to make sure that you were physically fit enough to take it on, and had some kind of knowledge in the concrete industry before he was going to be willing to sell me that trailer pump.
which is
And
pretty noble of him, actually, because that was a big problem in our areas. A lot of manufacturers just hustling pumps out the door to guys who'd never seen a pump before. And it was mayhem, the amount of incidents and whatnot, and and it affects everybody in the industry. So that's props to him for that.
yeah, and that was we got the pump in. Tim went over flipping some switches, and he goes, "Now if you plug, you got this." And I go, "Plug? What's that?" I go, "I hope I don't ever see that." He goes, "Oh, you're going to see one."
If you ever call it a clog, I'm heading
people
for the hills. Anybody who calls a plug a clog, I'm out. That's the first red flag that they haven't been doing this for very long.
right, yeah, but no, he was great to work with. And he sold me at the time it was a 2 or 3 year old BPA 500 swing. Had the air cooled Deutz 20 BF4 2011 motor in it. And man, that thing howled being air cooled. You could turn the volume up, squeeze the throttle up, and you're waking everybody up when you start going. But that's and I haven't had a swing since that thing. What we put that thing through and what it put us through, it's just kept me that way on the trailer pumps part of it.
And then what made you decide to get into the boom pump end of things?
Uh, Two things. One, Bill's almost 10 years older than me, and I felt like I needed to get him off of the trailer pump. And we were having customers going, they loved our trailer pump service. They wanted that same service with a boom pump. And so I think it's just the natural progression. If you are trying to grow your company, if you are a trailer pump operator, to maybe instead of getting more pumps, which at the time we were running 2 trailer pumps, was to take that next step up into the boom pump world. And but it's a 50-50. It was a drive between wanting to get Bill off of those trailer pumps and dragging those hoses, and just trying to just take the next step into the industry and with the business also.
I remember seeing your first boom pump at it was the ACPA conference in Dallas, 16, 17, and your pump was there in the Concord booth. I remember seeing it there. The Muddy Feet. Oh, who are these guys? And then 5 years later, I'm seeing your videos on YouTube and kind of put 2 and 2 together.
That was actually my second one that year. We bought back in that show was in October. We bought the 40 meter and it was delivered to us July, the 1st of July. And then I told him, I said, after the first of the year, I'm going to trade this other truck and get another pump. So just y'all be ready, And they called me 2 months later and said, "Hey, we had a deal fall through with a guy. This pump is just like you're wanting. We can give it to you, at a discount because his deal fell through." And I just like, heck, I guess, yeah, let's go, let's run with it. Well, I didn't realize it was going to be in that show. I didn't even know that show was going to be here. And then Chris called me and said, "Hey, your pump's going to be at Grapevine, the inside of the whatever that place is, and so it's going to be a showpiece there." And I was like, "You're kidding."
The Gaylord Resort? I remember.
Yes, the
It's all in like
Gaylord.
a big solarium kind of, or big glass dome kind of thing.
Yeah. So that was pretty fascinating.
So here's a question. I hope they didn't charge you for delivery on that pump. If it's going down to the show anyhow.
Right.
So you want to hear my story?
Yeah, let's hear
it. So my story is my old man and uncle, they've been placing concrete since the 70s. Their grandfather before them placed concrete. Their great grandfather placed concrete. My old man and the uncle in the 70s, mid 70s, they got a couple of the first pumps in our area. They were always doing residential work. They always had 8 to 10 guys. They do a couple crews, couple small crews, one big crew. Never really got into commercial work. So they always stuck with the residential work, had 2 or 3 pumps. Late 90s, mid 90s, my older brother got into it. He's more of a pump nerd than I am, even 10 times worse than me, I would say. I got into it in about 1999. I was going to be their mechanic. That's what I went to school for. Same old story. Operator quit. They had that little line pump, the TSS 45 on a little Ford Super Duty truck. "Hey, we're shorthanded. Can you take this thing out and run it for a day?" And reluctantly, I guess I'll do it. It goes. Next thing you know, you've become a pump operator. And then it was, why don't you get your CDL license, just in case you can run the boom pump. Same story. Boom pump guy moved on. Next thing you know, I'm running a boom pump, yada, yada, yada. So we had the 3 pumps at the time. And then I kind of ended up liking it. This is about the early 2000s. It kind of grows on you. Concrete is. It sort of gets in your blood. And then we kind of caught a break. They were doing a SkyTrain line, about 10-kilometer long SkyTrain line, literally right beside our shop. Company from out of town came in that was doing it. "Hey, you guys got 3 or 4 pumps. That's all we're going to need for this job. Do you want to do it?" Got that job. Ended up we needed a lot more pumps. Next thing you know, we end up with 8, 9 pumps. That job wraps up. Now we got to chase commercial work. That kind of started rolling. Next thing you know, we had 14 pumps, which looking back on it was an absolute nightmare. Now we're back down to 10, 20 years later, and 9, 10, can't even remember now. And it's pretty good, pretty manageable. But that's my whole story is my old man and uncle. And then they got out of it around 2009, sold the business to us. It's myself and my brother deal mainly with the pumps. My sister and my cousin do the book work. And I got another cousin that takes care of the placing finishing crew. So we're like a family business. There's 5 of us on the pump end of things in the field. It's predominantly my brother and myself, but there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of the supporting cast does a lot of the work that we would rather not do or aren't well suited to doing, like collecting bills. So the long and short of it, family business, myself, my brother, 3 other relatives, and that's kind of what our deal is. And we do a good amount of commercial work now. The residential work is still our bread and butter, which is why I like watching both your guys' channels, watching the line pumping videos. That's kind of my passion. That's what I like and what I enjoy. I know the big pump videos get the big views, but I've stated many times in my videos, it's not, it's all right once in a while, but if you told me I had to do it every day for the rest of my life, I don't think I'd be super thrilled about it. So don't want to shit on anybody's dreams out there, but yeah, you gotta find that balance, right? It took us a long time. I think that's where we're at now. So
we got a couple of guys in here. This Doozy Ranch, that is Bill, and Bill's my brother-in-law. So he's on here. That's his YouTube channel, Doozy Ranch. Gray, which is of Gray Concrete Pumping. He made a comment. He likes your shirt because I think he's
Arkansas.
yeah. Because I think he's from up around Little Rock, I believe. I reached out to them a couple times. They're not putting as many videos out that they had been, and I enjoyed seeing some of the stuff they were doing, and some of the old buildings up there in Arkansas. So that was pretty cool. Um, Greg's been on. Greg's been shooting all kinds of stuff on here. We've just been going over it, but I did like Greg's comment though about the rock valve. He said he felt 100% that the rock valve would absolutely pump a harsher mix, hands down. Uh, but he did say the S tube seemed to be a lot smoother when it was pushing the bigger volumes. So
That's from Greg there, Greg Huey.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw that comment. There's a lot of really good comments here. I kind of feel bad because we missed out on a lot. When this video is done, it stays on the channel, and do all the comments stay up so they can be responded to after the fact, or how does that work? Do you know?
I'm not sure. It seemed like in the past that they kind of, once we went off, they went off. Which I'm like you. I wish they would stay up so we could come back and address them.
Should we go through and pick a couple each and touch on them? Because I kind of feel bad.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Just see which ones you see that's interesting. Ben with being an NC, he was asking why not use hydraulic oil in our water boxes. For one, it's just the mess that it makes. I'm sure it does have a better lubing factor as far as water goes, but the mess that the oil would make from having to drain.
Who's big on oil in the water box, and I think it's hydraulic, but don't quote me on it, is the Reed pumps, because they use a nylon piston cup. They don't use a rubber piston cup.
Oh, okay.
And apparently the key to them, and there's a guy here, Mark Robinson, who does a lot of shotcrete. He runs the big Reed C50 SS. I see him in here. He can probably touch on this and would know for sure. But in the Reed, they say you're supposed to run oil in the water box, so the cups just don't last.
Oh, it is just windier than all get out up here some days. My pump will be brown by the end of the day because I spray it down with oil before we start pumping, and then dust just kicks up and my water will be brown, not from the dust flying through the air. So I couldn't imagine if I had left hydraulic oil in the water box for a long time, how much dirt and sediment is actually going to accumulate in there over that amount of time.
Yeah, I could see that for sure too. I wonder if they just got to keep the lid sealed down tight, or what the story is. Or maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it's mineral oil or something. But like you're saying, Caleb, I think any kind of oil is going to have that effect to a degree. But if somebody here knows it's an expert in Reed pumps, it'd be awesome to have you chime in.
Yeah, Bill made a comment on that truck that was up there at Grapevine. The guy that drove that truck out of the showroom, that was the first time for him to drive the truck. it was a Trejo. He worked for us at the time, Jonathan Trejo. He now works for Vista Ridge, and man, he's living the life. They've got him on some of their biggest pumps, and he's having a blast with it. But he drove. That's the first time for him to drive the truck, and he drove it out of the showroom and back to the yard. So he was smiling the whole way.
So Jeff, you got both of those boom pumps within the same year?
Yep.
So you went from no boom pumps to two in the same year?
No. We had two used ones at the time. I think I sent a picture to our group text.
Oh, you had used boom pumps. Oh, okay, I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It was 20. You'll have to help me, Bill. What year was it we bought our first boom pump? I think it was 20. Oh man, 2015 maybe. 2016, I cannot remember. 2015, we bought our first one, and the first one was that 33 meter Concorde, and it was an 05 model, and it's a rolling fold. And then we picked up another one, I don't know, 4 or 5 months later. There was an Alliance 07 model, 37 meters Z boom. So those were our first two in 2015, and then we used those for 2 years, and then we traded them in.
And how did you find the Alliance versus the Concorde? Pluses, minuses, comparable? What
Very,
do you think?
very comparable. Very comparable. That's the wear parts were pretty much all the same. When you get those 10-year-old pumps, you start having to mess with a lot of little O rings and seals and stuff. Um, I did find that like in the stack valves, the Alliance stack valves were a little bit harder to get around to replace some of those O rings and those valves and stuff versus the Concord. I don't know who the manufacturer of those valves were, but it just seemed like they were just in a little bit tighter spot.
Okay.
But as far as everything else, I mean, it's all. I'm sure the forwarding valves, the 90 bar valve, I'm sure all that stuff is the same on them. Um, but you know, when I bought the Concords, it was a toss up between Concord and Alliance what we were going to buy, and they just Lino, talking with him. I don't know if you talked with him very much or not, but he's got that calming voice that just kind of makes you feel like this is where you need to be.
I've heard
And
fantastic things about him. We haven't had much Concord stuff ourselves. Um, we've bought some parts here and there back in the day. I mean, Concord's right in our backyard. So is Alliance. So is KCP. We have a Putzmeister dealer. We're pretty blessed in that regards, as far as not having to wait on parts and whatnot. But we never really got into Concord, not for any specific reason. I guess we just kind of I think as pumpers we sort of stick with what we know and to try and pry us a different direction.
yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
it takes exceptional circumstances or a sequence of events. We were this close to closing a deal on a swing 2 or 3 years ago, and then just lack of manpower didn't make sense, and we had to pull the plug. Just wasn't meant to be at the time. So who
yeah,
knows? I mean, we have a fleet of Putzmeister, and I like the product, but I mean, I know I'm open to whatever. I like all pumps, I really do. So
yeah. Yeah, and you look. I mean, that's one thing too. With when I'm, there are a couple of newer manufacturers. Like I said, DY is an hour and 15, 20 minutes from our yard. Um, but I look back and that '05 Concord that we bought i- is still pumping today up in Oklahoma. I get pictures every now and then if the guys operating it. So and they haven't done a lot to that truck. So that tells me they stand the test of time, just like the puts and the swings. They've been around. You look into the ads that are for sale. There's 99 model swings still that are out there for sale that the
yeah,
people are pumping right now. And I look at that, and some of these newer companies, I wonder about the resale, how it's gonna be, but um, I I'm assuming it's gonna be there for them when it comes time. But because I've reselling the first Concord I had and reselling that 40 meter we just had, the resale value has been great on them. I operated that I operated that oh 04 that 2018 40 meter Z. Basically operated that truck for 25,000 a year. So I didn't think that was bad at all.
yeah, I'd say that's about in line with what our puts are. I honestly think they're all. I think they all end up pretty close to the same at the end of the day, and really it just comes down to taking care of your stuff and not beating on it. I've seen the way I've been around operators that and I see the way they run the equipment, and it's no wonder it lasts half as long, right? These guys that just want to push the buttons and park it at the end of the day and not do much beyond that. And I think those are the fleets that maybe they're renewing their equipment a lot more often, and they have the issues. So it's I don't know. I think to summarize, I think they're pretty much all good pumps. Maybe some of the ones I get the messages on Instagram from random company I've never heard of. It's every 2 weeks now, from some far part of the globe. I would question some of those, but I
Right.
think that the half a dozen, maybe it's a dozen now, big names. I think they're all going to take care of you. It's a competitive market. They have to.
Well, I mean, you look at the engines. They're going to be Mack, Packard, Cummins, basically. You look at the hydraulic pumps. So Rexroth is the name for hydraulic pumps. Your valving, your Bosch. I mean, and all these pumps are carrying all these items. So you're basically looking at what kind of steel are they putting in it, and then how they hold up as far as that goes. These Concords are 60,000 pound trucks. So. Um, I've heard of other manufacturers having the same size as my 38 and their truck weighing 46,000 pounds. That makes me think what's in their truck
Yeah,
or
no,
what's
no,
not,
no,
or
absolutely.
what's not in their truck. In
Well,
so
especially with some of the big companies to come out with a model that's 4 or 5 meters longer in reach, it takes them 3 or 4 years of R&D to do it. And then you see other companies every 6 months they're coming out with a model that's 5 meters bigger, 5 meters bigger, 5 meters bigger. As an engineer once explained it to me, 5 meters of extra reach on a 50+ meter boom, the amount of torque and stress that puts on the subframe of the pump just by having that extra weight right out at the end of the reach, it's exponential. It's huge.
yeah,
It's not something where you just take a model and add a little bit here and a little bit there to do it properly.
yeah,
So I think there's definitely a lot to it. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what my overall take is on all of it. We run what we run, and it's been pretty good. And we look at other stuff here and there, and I always figured, the YouTube channel, we'd all get famous and get pumps for free. I think we got a couple bags of primer, and
yeah.
we might get a sponge ball or two. A world of concrete is the reality.
I've got an ice machine from Beaver.
Yeah, right. But
But
yeah, no,
I
it's
did get. I kind of laughed with you the other day though. Y'all were adjusting. I think the 47 meter you're pumping down in the hole, and your opposite side outriggers were coming off the ground.
yes,
And that reminded me of the first time Bill ran that 40 meter, and I think he was short rigged with it. He may not have been short rigged, but he was pumping off the side of it. And I get these photos of the outriggers off the ground on the opposite side. He's like, "What do you think? What do you think?" And I go, "Well, how far in the ground is the ones on the side you're working off of?"
yeah,
He goes,
that's about it, right?
he goes, "Well, they're not." And I go, "I wouldn't worry about it then."
Well, that was the common misconception. If you lift the working side of the truck higher, the non-working side is going to be less prone to lifting. But it actually
Yeah,
makes it worse just because the angle. So I always
yeah,
go dead level, if not very slightly towards the working side, and then I'm not adjusting outriggers as much, even though it's counterintuitive to what your brain might think by looking at it. And I know a lot of guys that do the same, and I've had good results with it. And once again, my way is not the only way, but that's kind of what I've had success with. So
well,
knock on wood.
I've had truck drivers come running around the corner just screaming and hollering, going, "Hey, hey, stop, stop, stop!" And of course, you stop. You go, "What's the problem?" He's like, "Your outrigger's off the ground." I go, "Which one?" So, and you go back there and look, and it's the opposite end of you're working off of, and you're like, "Oh, it's fine." He's like, "Man, that can't happen." Like, well, the front was not sinking, so we're going to keep going.
First pump I ran, a 1988 32-meter Putzmeister, Thompson Putzmeister. If you went flat out across the back corner, across the corner of the hopper, the opposing side front outrigger, no joke, would be 2 to 3 feet in the air. And it's
Oh my
just
god!
just doing this. And I call my brother up who'd run that machine for a few years. I'm like, "Hey man, I got a problem out here." He's like, "No man, that's fine. It's normal." And I can't say I ever got used to or comfortable with it. But so you see now these new machines, when they pick a foot up about that high, like you're saying, as long as the other side isn't sinking into the ground, it is what it is, right? So
Yeah, yeah. We got some more comments in here we need to get to. Travis, good night. Thank you for hanging out with us, buddy. Really appreciate it. Um, just kind of browsing back up here. Here's a guy who had a question for me, Jeff. I'm a bit curious. On a lot of your jobs, you place a few hundred yards where the mixes can be rough. What's your thoughts of a telebelt for that work and operating costs versus a pump? Um, I don't know the operating costs of a telebelt, but I do know there are a couple in our area, but I couldn't tell you how busy they are. But there are guys that have them, and I pass them every now and then on the road. So that I wish Darren was here. Darren could probably really touch because they have a telly belt or what do you I guess a
yeah, he's
telly
got a
belt.
TB 105 belt. Yeah, the Putz model, the telebelt, and the swing version is the loop belt, but they're
Yeah,
essentially the same thing. Don't attack me in the comments for saying that, but they're similar,
yeah,
I
yeah.
believe, in
It's
principle.
ignorance on my part of the names of them, but I've never been around them. They look like they do a phenomenal job for the guys that are operating them. Um, Here's an interesting one. What's the worst story or situation you've ever been in?
That's almost a whole nother live stream.
Mhm.
Oh, actually, I know one, but I'll let you guys go first. I thought about this last night because I knew it would come up.
I,
What do you,
I can go first. Since my pumping career is very small, I have a couple. I don't have 100. So I have two stories. One was every shotcrete job I get, I know I'm going to get a good mix. Well, I shouldn't. If I know where the concrete's coming from, I know I'm going to get a good mix. If we have to go, you know, a couple hours away, I don't know what ready mix supplier they're using, so I'm not exactly sure what kind of rock they have and all that stuff. So it would be my first line pump job. Um, I didn't know the ratio of the size of rock you're supposed to use, and all I had was 2-inch line at the time because that's what I was trained on. That's what the guy said to use because that's what he used. So that's what we got, and we were doing it was a long. It was like 275 feet, and I didn't think anything of it. Up in the cities when I was getting trained, the trucks would show up, you'd pump it, you'd leave. You never had to question whether or not your mix was going to be good or not. And so the truck shows up, I try to start pumping it, and I cannot get it to prime out. I mean, I would move 5 feet and it would start plugging up again. So I'm calling the guy. I'm like, hey, man, why is it doing this? Like, I'm doing everything you have taught me to do and more. I've been struggling with this for like 45 minutes. And to find out that I was using 2-inch line and it was 3/4 inch rock. So and it was like almost 300 feet. So it was never going to work. So I had 4 hoses full of concrete with 3/4 inch rock in it. They ended up sending 2 trucks away, colored concrete.
I'm impressed you even got them full, to tell you the truth.
Oh,
That's a win in itself.
I got it about halfway, and then I sat there for after we were done and realized that it was never going to work, and we just canceled the whole ordeal. I had to sit there for another 2 hours, individually trying to blow these lines out, and it was it was just awful, man. It was a great learning experience. I learned a lot that day, but and then the next story I have is we were doing a shotcrete up a town about an hour north of us, and they called the good concrete plant, which I told them to call to begin with, and they were like, "Oh, well, they can't get us in for 3 weeks, and we're going to do it at the end of the week." And I'm like, "All right, well, as long as they say we can make that mix, make the mix that you guys want, we should be good." And they were like, "Oh yeah, we got the stuff, we can make it." Shows up, and it's like pea gravel that's like half pea gravel, like it's small rock, like almost sand, and then they put the sand in there as well. So we would start pumping it, and then about every fourth or fifth stroke, I would start to plug, but I would plug in the S tube because the sand acts as a filter. So the water and everything would push, ahead of all that stuff, and it would get packed in the S tube. So I'd have to take everything apart, reach in there, dig everything out of the S tube. We would pump for like 5, 6, 7 strokes, and then I'd have to do it all over again. And then so I fought through 2 trucks on the. This is over the course of 3 separate days, 3 separate concrete ready mix suppliers. And so the first day we did a whole truck. I plugged like 15, 16 times, and the next truck came, and I'm like, if this does this again 2 more times, I said I'm not pumping it. Like, we're not pumping it. You're going to send this mud back, and you're going to reschedule, and I want you to call these people. And the next truck came, it didn't work, so we were done for that day. And then next week they were like, "Oh, the big company said they were this far out, so we went with a different one." And I'm like, "Why? Like, just wait. Like, it's just more beneficial to everyone if you just wait. Like, it's costing everybody more money now, but all right, if this happens like it did last time," I said, I will, if I get 3 plugs, like, we're done. And same exact thing happened. I was getting plugged up in the S tube and I had to dig it out. I did it 3 times and I looked at him and said, I'm not doing this all day. I'm not even doing this for the rest of this truck. I said, we're done. And then we went back 2.5 weeks later when the big ready mix company that has every rock you can think of under the sun, and we pumped all day, no problems. So yeah, it was very interesting to see.
After go pumping, that's the way we learn, though, right? Through somebody can tell you something 100 times until you go through it. It doesn't really absorb and relate, right? That's the unfortunate learning curve of all this.
Yep.
Well, I went through the same thing. I don't know, a month ago, I think. I don't know if you were in the group text with us yet, Caleb, or not, but I was pumping lightweight concrete for some decks. They're actually going to be modular homes, and I sit there and just fought that, and they were really trying to keep the slumps really tight. And I'm sitting there telling them that they're not hydrating the rock properly, because as soon as I stick it in the pump, it's going in at a 7 or an 8. But by the time I get it 100 foot out of the hose, it's coming out, a 3. And I'm also pressuring out the whole time too. So it's 2 strokes back, 1 stroke forward, and until I finally get it to them and tell them, they're not, I finally got it through to them that the company's not hydrating the rock properly. And you find that with that lightweight concrete, because it's such a porous rock that when you finally put it under pressure, that it sucks up all your water, is what you'll get into. So if you get in some lightweight concrete up there, make sure you ask a lot of questions about, are they hydrating the rock and are they watering it and all that, because it'll save you a lot of trouble.
Even the sand, like you mentioned in your video today, Jeff, with the manufactured sand, we've had some variations in sand lately too. And like you're saying, as soon as you put that stuff under pressure, it just sucks up all that water. And then you can tell, because the placers and finishers, when they're trying to finish the stuff, it just bleeds like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's almost worse than pumping an exceptionally rocky mix, I find. To me, it comes down more to the fines and the type of sand used, more so than the actual rock. It's not just 1 inch rock, 3/4 rock, 1/2 inch. The smaller the rock, the better it pumps. We deal with that all the time. Customers that say, yeah, I got a line mix. I got 1/2 inch rock. It's like, well, no, did you tell them you have 300 feet of 2.5 inch line to pump through? No, I just told them small rock and plasticizer. And you're just doing this. Like there's more to it than that. And you could actually spend less money, not spend all the dough on that chemical, and get a proper base mix to begin with and have better results, and everybody wins, right? But the ready mix sales guy, he's more than happy to sell them a couple liters per meter of plasticizer, because that's, and I might get in trouble for saying that. Sorry, ready mix guys, but
tell them their secrets tonight.
Yeah, I'm telling them how I really feel, But
yeah,
not
exactly.
not our ready mix supplier. They don't do that. The top notch.
We would never be able to get across of how we really feel sometimes.
Oh, we would be banned so quick, kicked off the YouTube platform, done. My story is a good one, and it's a good one because nobody got hurt. But long and the short of it, I didn't find out till 15 years later, but I completely destroyed the interior of a display suite at a condominium project. First time out with a 32 meter where I had to move the pump. We poured some sidewalks. Now I got to break down and move the pump. Okay, well, I let the hose drain out a little bit, whatever. Fold the hose over, just fold the pump up, right? Reset the pump up, stretch out 4th floor, 5th floor, something like that. They're going to fill wheelbarrows inside the living room of this display suite, pump into the barrels. They're going to wheel it down the hallway and do some shower basins or whatever it was. Sure. So I unfold the pump, just take it right up onto the patio. I'm down below at pump level. They unfold the hose. Okay, we'll start pumping. 3 or 4 strokes. Boof. I'm new. I have no idea what happened down below. Just a little air pocket, whatever. Not too much fuss about it the day of, but not until about 15 years later, I'm on a big site and pretty good buddies with the superintendent. We're talking about, the old days and stuff we've seen. He's telling me about this project where the pump moved and completely destroyed all the cabinets, put holes in the drywall, just wrecked the display suite. 57th and Oak Street in Vancouver. I'm like, is that probably around like 2003? Yeah, about that. I'm like, shit, that was me. They had to replace the whole thing. There's about 40 grand in damage. No idea at the time. But to this day, that's why whenever I move the pump or I'm priming, I put my hand, I cup it over the hose so I can feel that air coming through. If I'd done that and restarted properly, it would never have had that happen. But back in those days, that's kind of unfortunately how we learned. We didn't have YouTube guys like us doing it wrong to learn from. So
absolutely.
that's my whole story. That's probably that's the most humorous one to me, and I say it's humorous because nobody got hurt, and I'm buddies with the guy after the fact to this day, and we laugh about it. But it was a big ordeal. The way he tells the story makes it funnier too. So
yeah, I've had a couple of them, and not necessarily that's happened to me. It's more of the owner part of it. I've got a video out there. There's unfortunately there's not a lot of video of what actually took place. It's more of the conversation that I was having with my operator, because he was pulled in off of the street facing the slab he was pumping, and the hopper was right at the edge of the street. Well, this ready mix truck pulls in. Well, when he pulls in, he kind of does a little swoop towards the pump. Well, the back end of his truck caught the back of the pump.
Oh no!
And it drug the pump off of its outrigger pads.
Oh jeez!
And they went in the ground. Probably what saved the pump was the boom. It wasn't flat out, but it was significantly, out in front of the right out and over the right outrigger, front outrigger. So when he hooked the pump, it pivoted on that front right outrigger. So that outrigger stayed on its pad, but it took the boom off the other three pads. And we're very, very fortunate that it didn't dump that pump when he did that. And of course, Chris was a nervous wreck. I was a nervous wreck. But that was the fastest I've ever got from Denton down to Collinsville in my pickup. And the whole time I'm sitting there trying to just because I can tell in Chris's voice that it's not good. And I'd gotten some pictures, but I'm sitting there going, okay, we've got to get the truck. We got to get the boom back to the truck, and so we can get these outriggers back on. Get the pads back under the outriggers. So I'm sitting there driving like a madman to get to the job, and I'm trying to coach Chris on what we need to do to get this truck from turning over. And fortunately, it all worked out. Nobody got hurt. We got the boom back up under it and got on the outrigger pads with it. But it was pretty intense. I need to watch that video again just to see how that all transpired again. But it was. But
Jeff, did you say that's on one of your YouTube videos, or is this
it
for
is.
YouTube? It is.
Okay.
It is. I'll have to get the video name from you for that one. I'd love to watch that. That's probably.
I'll have to dig it up. Like I said, for probably the 3/4 of the video, you're staring at my radio on my truck, but you're listening to the conversation that Chris and I are having. So, but that's the best I could do.
Isn't it crazy to look back, especially for me after I think it's 25 years now? We've been lucky. We've never. I don't even want to talk about it. 'Cause it's like throwing rocks in a glass house. But we've never put a boom over. We've never hit a high voltage wire. But how many times we just got lucky, where
Yes.
You're like, holy shite, that could have been really, really bad, and you look back on it, it's pretty scary. And it makes you realize the industry that we're in, on the best of days, you make a couple of bucks. On the worst of days, it's got to be one of the worst industries out there. We're just passionate about it and roped into it. But it is, to look back through history, we've been really, really lucky several times. And you do everything you can to mitigate the chances of things happening. But there's almost always the unforeseen, or the lightning strike chance of a certain thing happening, and you just never know. It is scary to think about.
Yeah, we do. It's and I'll take luck over being good or anything any day of the week. We get put in situations that, or we're told of things that sometimes isn't true. Like, this ground's packed, or nothing has disturbed the soil.
There's no water tank under there. It's good.
Exactly.
No oil tank. Yep.
Exactly. And uh, just so you can get that extra 10 foot. And finally, Bill and I just have come to the conclusion that our outriggers aren't going outside the curbs.
Yep.
I don't care what the ground looks like, because 9 times out of the 10, they ran the utilities over it. They put the dirt back in it and they've drove off. They didn't
Yep.
pack it or anything. So, and that's when you see a lot of guys get in trouble, is them trying to get that extra closeness of that pump and pushing those limits. And power lines are another thing too. I have zero tolerance for that,
Yeah.
and we're all in agreement with it. We're not going to get within that 20 foot range of them. The hose can be pushed over there. There's other things we can do, and we're just not going to get our trucks close to them if at all possible.
I always found that interesting how in the ACPA standard it's 20 feet from all wires, and then our local standard here in British Columbia, Canada, there's a breakdown. It's 10 feet from 12.5 kV wires and higher, and then it goes to 15 and 20 for the big boys. But we're down to as low as 3 feet or 1 meter for the wires the 220 wires that supply the house.
Yes,
It makes sense, but also at the same time, now you're opening the can of worms that you're trusting the operator to make that distinction as to what the wires are exactly. So
yes,
it is an interesting one. But if we were in our market, because our utilities, most of them are run overhead. If we had to abide by 20 feet by all wires, we'd be trailer pumping everything. So it's just,
right.
and maybe that's why they have that variance in our particular area, because it's specific to the challenges that we have. But it comes up in my videos, guys will be like, you're 20 feet from all wires, and it's like, no, like we have very specific criteria for it. And I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with that, but it's just one of those things from area to area. That's the way it is.
Well, the ACPA, the last safety class I had with them, which has been some time, their recommendation was 20 feet. You could go inside of that 20 feet if you have a spotter.
Right.
So someone has to be spotting you on that. Now I can't tell you what the nitty gritty is on how close they'll let you go with a spotter, but you can go with it. But it's just the way our areas are. It's just best to just tell people 20 feet is our limit, and we'll do our best to get it as close as we can to that.
Yeah, just keep it black and white for sure. No,
Yep.
I agree with that.
And I've lost some jobs because of it, but you know, I've still got trucks.
Yeah, there's always somebody that'll do it. There's the last guy that did it, right? And when I was young and call it naive, I I was a people pleaser and I would buy into it. Okay, well, I'll get it done too. Then now, I don't care. Call that guy. Like I just couldn't be bothered, because I know generally the type of customer that starts throwing that rhetoric out there, and I just don't have time for it anymore. It's just one of those things. You gotta put your foot down. When you're a bit younger and impressionable as I was, it's not as easy. But now I don't know. Life's too short to take chances like that. So
Yeah, and I know the position you're in there, Caleb, with hearing us talk about the booms and stuff. I mean, I've sat through that ACPA safety class the whole Saturday, and three-quarters of it is boom pumping, and a quarter of it is trailer pumping.
Yeah. When I went to World of Concrete 2 years ago, I took the boom, or it wasn't even a boom, but it was just the concrete pump safety course, and I'm like, all right, let's learn something. There was the book is 80 pages, and two of it's over trailers, and then I'm just sitting there like, all right, I'm still learning something, just in case, but but it's still not relevant to exactly what I'm doing.
At the time, it was all interesting, 'cause, I
Yep.
mean, you're consumed with pumping. You love the part of it, and like to always learn more and see more about it. But and a lot of rules stick in your head. Like if you're parked next to a ledge, 1 foot down, you need to be 1 foot over, things like that. But it was interesting, just being a trailer pump operator and then seeing what the boom pump guys are going through, because it's definitely a whole different world. I mean, you've got other aspects you're having to watch out for on it, but it's all
I'm going to World of Concrete again this year, and I took the same course because the first year I went, so we started in March of 22, but I went to World of Concrete in January of 22. So I still haven't put my hands on a pump. I still haven't done the job. It was still, just trying to learn from what someone's telling me, not actually fully understanding exactly what they're talking about because I've never actually experienced it. So I took that class again this year because I now have experience and I can understand a lot more of what they're saying.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's a lot
Right.
more relevant once you've seen it.
Yep.
Absolutely. So you
There's
guys,
a
I'm gonna be down Monday to Friday at World of Concrete. What are your two guys' plans for days? Do you know yet, or what are you thinking?
I haven't thought really that far ahead. I know I'm going to be there. I don't know if I'm going to fly in Monday afternoon and then be there for a couple of days or which part. I'd like to take the pump op or the pumping operator, the safety course again, which is usually on Tuesday. So
Yes.
Is it Tuesday or Monday? Is it?
Tuesday, I believe, because I
It
was
is on
actually going
Tuesday.
to take the shotcrete safety course or the shotcrete course just to get a little more knowledgeable on that. And they happen to be at the exact same time, so I chose the pump, the safety pump one over shotcrete.
So a
I
course that I took down there years ago, and it's not really related to pumping directly, but it was as far as concrete, one of the best courses that I ever took, and the most knowledge I gained about concrete was crack prevention and repair. Just all about subgrade, rebar, epoxy injection. I learned so much through that course about what causes concrete to crack and the properties of it and everything else. I only took it because I had nothing else to do that day. I was looking to fill a day. I don't know if they have that course, but if anybody in the commenters as well, any viewers, if you're going down there, I would highly recommend that course, even if you're just a pump guy. So much knowledge and stuff that I retained to this day from taking that course. It was top notch, and I think it was like a 4 hour course or something. Really, really good though.
yeah, that does sound like an interesting one. I don't, like I said, and I hope to bring Bill with me. Um, just because I know he'd like to go and see a lot of the latest greatest things. So I'm not sure exactly but since we're the only two running the concrete pumps, somebody needs to be managing the fort. So I'm not sure. We've got some more questions here. I've got one question for one of the comments here from Greg. He was something about 180. Let me see if I can find it here. I don't know what he was talking about. Posted the mix hitting the pump. It's got caught behind the pumper too, right? Then right there, Greg says 180 psi is the lowest I've seen on the box. What would he be talking about there?
Was that talking for pushing lightweight concrete? Was that what that's in reference to?
That may be what he's talking
Yes,
about.
I believe that's what he was talking about. If you scroll up a little bit more, he says, "Go squeeze, goo squeezes through your fingers, and then sand and rock is left in your palm. Now think about how much pressure you can apply versus the pressure the hydraulics can apply."
Yeah,
So I'm thinking that Greg's referring to 180 bar pressure, and on a Putzmeister, you get over about 300, and it's not good. You start tripping the relief valve, and you can overheat the hydraulics. So I'm assuming that's what he's in reference to, or speaking in
yeah.
reference to, which makes sense.
Scott Perry, right below that, Scott Perry had a question for you, Scott, about
I
the
saw that
38,
one.
the
That
38.5.
Yeah, that plays with my heartstrings. Any disadvantages to the 38.5? Oh man, so you've probably seen in my videos. I absolutely love our 38.5, and I'm not even going to say it's so much because of that particular model. It's that specific pump, like built on a Wednesday. I don't know, like everything on that thing was just dialed in. We really haven't had issues with that at all. We had a boom support on the B section that had to be carved out and rewelded, and that's a Putzmeister update. But they came to us. Putzmeister is really good about that. We were lucky. The guys at Western Concrete Pumping in Bellingham, an hour south from us, they had the Putzmeister welder there at their facility that week doing some work for them. It was fixed in 2 days. Huge shout out to Western Concrete Pumping, Michael and Arv down there. We owe them huge for that. Otherwise, that pump would have been sitting down for potentially 2 months.
Oh wow.
And that was the only negative to our 38.5. Other than that, like I'm reading here about the subframe. I don't know. I'm not sure what chassis you have the pump mounted on. Maybe that plays into it. But ours it's just been so dang good. No, there's the only negative to it. I don't know. The back outriggers sit a little bit high just because of the way they're designed, and it can be a little tricky to unfold the boom past the outrigger sometimes. And that's like, I'm really, really digging to come up with that one. But everything about that pump is just like, I could retire on that thing and be a happy man. So no, we haven't had any of the issues that you're talking about with ours. Not to say that it's that it's not an issue, but it just hasn't been for us. So top notch pump. Everybody should have one.
And I agree with the 5 section. I'm gonna go a little bit longer on you though. My if there's a boom pump that's going to take me away from concrete, from Concord, it's going to be that they don't make a 5 section 40 meter, and the DY 40 section or the 40 meter 5 section, the chassis it's a lot shorter. It just looked like a good looking truck in a rig for what we're looking for. Um, Out in a rural area, we have narrow roads and tight driveways, so we need that shorter chassis to be able to turn in those driveways and stuff. But I still want as much reach as I can possibly get on those 3 axles.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Jeff. That's our 40 meter puts Meister Z. It was 6 or 7 feet of reach over a 38. Doesn't sound like much. We did notice the reach, but the 5 section to me is a worthy trade off. Like you're saying, if you could have a 40 meter with a 5 section, you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. Absolutely. And that's a question I was going to throw out. We'll wait till the very end. I had an idea for how we could finish things off, unless you have any other ideas. But it was kind of along those lines about pumps and our hypothetical situations. I'll save it till the end, but I might circle back and touch on this.
Sure, sure. I really just kind of. I mean, we've been at it an hour and a half. I'd like to just
Yeah.
make sure we address everybody's comments and questions and stuff.
Say, I might
Um,
have to take a quick break here. I gotta go put my little one to bed quick, but
sure, sure.
I'll be back.
And here's a good one. It'd been good for Caleb. Is this guy's asking, do you guys have any advice for a young guy getting ready to start his own business in the trades? I'm thinking of business financially wise. Like, do you guys use Intuit QuickBooks or something else? Dealing with customers and quoting jobs and making sure you get paid. That's the big one, is the making sure you get paid, because there's all kinds of loopholes for them to get out of that one.
100%. That's, to me, Jeff. That's the biggest one is customer screening, for sure. Um,
Uh,
yeah,
and what to do when you don't get paid. If you don't get paid, you need to know your local laws. States are the states. Each state is different on how you can collect your money, and the different channels that you can do, the avenues of doing that. Unfortunately, we can't go tear a slab out and haul it back home. I mean,
well,
our
Grubb
services.
Mudd has a video that might prove differently that he posted up recently. Everybody watch that.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. You
yeah.
need to go to Grubb Mudd's channel and check out his shorts. He's got a recent video where a guy actually did take the slab back.
Yeah.
It's top
I
notch.
think that's probably what got the homeowner even matters, because he thought he's just gonna get a free slab for complaining.
Yeah. Well, there's even more to that story. I got pictures that apparently the homeowner ended up biting the guy or something. Somebody sent me some stuff. I don't know. I don't know how verified it is or not, but apparently it got pretty wild. So
Yeah,
we'll just say that.
but I mean, far as going into business for yourself, I mean, it's all about, what are you comfortable doing? How much are you comfortable borrowing, and all that? And I mean, you have to do your own homework, because different areas are different. Fortunately, I'm in Texas. Texas seems to be a hotbed uh, for startup companies. Um, but I don't have a lot of advice for startup companies, because I feel like everything I've done and gotten away with has had a lot to do with just luck and hard work more than anything.
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree with you on that one, Jeff. I would say a lot of us when we get into the business, especially when we're younger, our goal is that we're gonna be rich, make it big, doing what we do. I don't want to break any hearts, but in the pumping business, you can make a very good living, and if you enjoy what you do, it's a win. You're winning. If the goal is to make big money and have the flashy things in life and whatnot, to do it all over, I would have just started a coffee shop. Like it's honestly there's and the guys I know in our business locally that have done the best. They stay under the radar. They invested in real estate. They don't drive the flashy new truck. Their pump might be 20 years old. They keep it low key. They don't say a whole lot. They've done really, really well. Usually the guys with the big show, not just in pumping, but in any business. I don't see it pan out that often. Usually the first sign to me, if you see a super flashy website that's just over the top, it's to me it's kind of can be kind of a red flag. Not to say it's that way with everybody, but I think just be humble, keep it simple. You can make a very good living, but you ain't gonna be rolling with Donnie Trump doing concrete pumping. At least not in our area. You're not. So
Right. I think some companies have been able to do very well for themselves, um, and getting reaching those goals. But I don't know of anybody that it didn't take just some hard work and a hard head to power through a lot of the down times. So it just it's got to be how thick your skin is.
yeah, absolutely. There's nothing you don't want half your fleet on payments when the market takes a dip. It's a bad spot to be in, and we've been in it or close to it before, and kind of learned from it. I like to think, but yeah, it's when it's busy, it's easy to buy equipment. It's going to work every day. It's a no brainer. As soon as it slows down for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and you've still got payments, it can be a scary situation. So
Well, good credit can buy equipment all day long. But can you hire somebody to run it? That another thing. The guys that you have working with you can make it break you just as quick as the economy and just as quick as the equipment has. I've been very fortunate to have Bill. I mean, I wouldn't be able to say enough good things about him and how long he's stuck with me through the bad times, through the good times, and all that. I've been very fortunate to have him with me. Um, and I've always told my wife, I said, something happens to me, you just ask Bill what to do. you know,
yeah,
and that's how I feel about that. But it just you gotta have that guy working for you or that guy that's with you, and because if you don't, you're by yourself essentially, and you're herding cats. So
100%.
you got to have those guys. I mean, and I know you give Ian a hard time, but I guarantee Ian is one you can count on.
Oh, he is top notch, most requested operator. Customers love him. He and I have I call it a playful relationship. But no, he's top notch. Like if I got to go out and do a 400-foot line job, he's the guy I'm taking with me. Or maybe I'm the guy he's taking with him. I would hope he would take me. We'll get him on the channel one time, and we can, or on the live stream, we can discuss this. But yeah, no, he's just a good guy and does a good job day in and day out. And like you're saying, Jeff, I think it's about the guys that you have, and our company was really built on a handful of really good guys, and we've had a lot more guys come and go over the years. And that's another, as you become a bigger company, you have to be more tolerant to your guys that maybe aren't quite up to your standard, and you got to decide if that's where you want to grow to. And for me, I find I'm too passionate about the business and too much of too OCD. I don't want to have 5 or 10 more pumps, but then have to have 3 or 4 guys that are kind of like, they're okay. I'd rather be smaller and just feel good about what we're doing. But that's more my passionate side speaking rather than a business take on things. I'm not a businessman. I'm a concrete pump operator. That's what I do. Unfortunately, make a living at it. But yeah, I'm not here to give good business advice. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just soon I didn't even have to take care of the business side, honestly. I mean,
yes,
but that's just the part of it that you inherit on this side is being I make jokes of it being an owner operator of a $multi-hundred company.
it's so true. Everybody sees the equipment and they think it's a big deal, and it's just like, if you only knew, it's a living with it's got some flexibility, but at the same time it's got a lot of sacrifice. So you just gotta enjoy doing it, right? And that's where
Right.
the YouTube comes in for me. It was like a new lease on life in this business. It's just fun. It adds a little bit of fun to it. So
Well, and I get a kick out of the um I just lost my train of thought for a second. I got to thinking about something else. But you know, even today of owning those trucks, even today I can go to the job site and step up on the steps and watch two mixers backed up to the hopper, emptying into the hopper of that boom pump, and just watch that thing manhandle concrete. I mean, I'm like a kid in the playground. It's just awesome to watch that going like that,
Yeah,
and it's just an unbelievable feeling to see that going on, to see it happening, and
it is
realize,
amazing what the machines do when you really think about it, right? And with the reliability that they do these days too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what do you think, Jeff? Should we wrap it up and finish it on a final question or two? We'll go around the circle and answer a couple questions, and
Yeah,
then you think it.
absolutely. I don't think we need to throw everything out on the first round of this.
I got to save something, right? We don't want to blow our wad on the first night out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was
Exactly.
hoping it was Bobby. Bob. I was hoping Bobby would make an appearance, but I guess he
I've
was tied
text
up.
I did text him, and he must have gotten into something else. So we'll catch him on the next one for sure.
180K subscribers. I'm sure he's a busy man.
Yeah, yeah, he's probably making a short or something.
Absolutely.
But no, he's a good cat. We've done a couple of videos together and that are coming up on his side. I feel comfortable visit with him, and he's a lot of fun to talk with and hear his experiences. And we've got a deal we're working on for this next summer. We're going to do a race. We're going to race, and he's going to use his Georgia buggy, and we're going to use my trailer pump, and we're going to see who can unload 4 yards of concrete the fastest.
Are you gonna have the 750/18 by then, or is that up in the air?
Hopefully, we will have that by then.
Oh yeah, you got it. You got
Oh,
it, man.
easy. In
Little
the
Joe
bag.
could do it too, but
Yeah, but I told him I had to have control of who ordered my concrete and what they were ordering.
oh, so here's a question: who is gonna win the sponge challenge? Who's your pick? Who's gonna win and who's gonna lose?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna win just because I don't get as many opportunities as you guys to use them. So you are gonna be using your sponges a lot more than me because you guys stay busy. You got the clients already and stuff. So I feel like I'm gonna win just for the sole fact that I just won't be using it near as much as you guys.
And who's gonna lose? I'm not easily offended. It's all good.
I think I could be probably easily the first one to get disqualified.
You could. Agreed.
It-
The
it
Canadian
mainly-
keeps making up rules as we go. Absolutely.
well, yeah, absolutely. Well, mainly is it's hard. I mean, you don't understand. It's hard to break the habit of me using that trash bag.
If I primed out with mortar mix, I would use them too. Absolutely. I
that's
absolutely
just
would.
they just, especially when I reverse the pump to pull the mud back. That bag comes back so much easier than that ball does.
Yeah. The ball, like you're saying today, it does pass air through it. I do agree with that.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's a toss up. I mean, I think any one of us is capable of doing it, going either direction.
I'm gonna say 100% that Darren is gonna win at this point because he's pushing the lines out with water. So there's just no way that ball is going to go astray on him. I just don't see it. If he starts sucking the sponge back through the hoses or he starts using air to blow out, that might change things. But at this current point, there's just no way Darren's going to lose that ball. I'm going to say, because Jeff's running a rock valve and I'm running an S-tube pump, I'm going to lose first because I suck the ball back quite often and I'll often assist it with air as well. I'm going to pull it back too far, get it into the S-tube and cut it. So I'm going to say that I will lose probably before World of Concrete time is my prediction.
I mean, yeah, like I said, very, very seldom. I just don't think it's ever happened that sack or the ball has gotten past my 4 to 5 inch reducer. It's always right there.
See, I always, when it gets back, I lift the reducers up and then it drops back down in. And I think that, and then it floats into the tube and cuts it. And like I said, I think it could be an S tube versus rock valve kind of thing. Maybe the rock valve, because it opens up so much wider. It takes a lot more to actually get that ball through or makes it even impossible. So I mean, I guess we'll see. Time is going to tell here. Hopefully,
I-
somebody's lost their sponge by World of Concrete time.
Oh, Travis in the comments, he's got the he's got the reward for the first loser.
Oh, get out of here, Travis. Oh, not with our mix. I wouldn't make it 50 feet, man. That's brutal. I'd be fired. I'd fire myself if I do that for a week.
I only make it 50 feet with Slick Pack 2. I can't imagine just using water.
I like what he's saying there, though. It's just our customers would absolutely hate me if I was doing that to them.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think I'd get away with it. But
yeah.
it is good. That's a good one.
I do have a question though. So sometimes I cycle delay set into my hopper if I got to drive to wash out and stuff. Do I have to use, and then I'll suck back a ball, through that first 25 feet where I disconnect. Do I have to suck the same ball back and then take it out and then use that to blow out the lines?
Yes.
It's just a lot of extra work.
Yeah, I know, but I think you got to use that sponge. You're married to that sponge from now until this contest is finished. I think you have to.
Okay, I sent you guys that picture. I marked up 2 balls. I got a 2-inch and a 2.5 inch. If I were to use both of those, one ball dedicated to just sucking back the 10 or 25 foot hose, whatever I got, and then another ball to blow out, or it's just a lot of extra work to suck that thing back.
Okay,
and then
so you're gonna have 2 balls. You'll have 2 balls in play.
Yes.
Okay, but
the
minute you
double the chances of me losing
What do you think, Jeff? I'm willing to be flexible a little bit here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe stick with your since.
Oh, Grubb Mudd told him to send him the link.
I'm gonna send it to him. Since Darren and Scott are using 2.5-inch hose, then I think the 2.5-inch should be what you stick with. I'm using a 3-inch because that's all I have. That's all I use is 3-inch hose. So
I chose a 2.5-inch ball because I quite often run 2.5 and then taper down to 2. So I can use that same ball to blow up the entire run because it'll squeeze down through the reducer and I'm good to go. It's not ideal for 2-inch hose, a little more resistance, but it works. So I kind of just wanted to stick with 1 ball. But no, I think 2 balls is okay. I think, yeah, I'm comfortable with this.
Or I'll just bring my 2-inch wall hook, and then if I ever have to, I'll just connect that onto the back, and I'll just keep cycling my concrete. That way, then I can just use 1 ball to blow out, and then not have to worry about sucking one back into the hopper. Because the other day I did have one go into the hopper, and it came out, and it didn't get chopped, but it floated up to the top. It made it all the way through.
Oh, it did. Oh, yeah. Was this before the contest?
No, this was actually the day I sent you guys that picture where I had to do like 200 feet and it started flooding my 2-inch ball. I sucked that back and I used my 2.5-inch to blow out the rest, and I went to tip my reducer up just like you do, and it must have just had enough to suck it all the way through, because then all of a sudden I looked in there and I'm like, oh, it is.
My video coming up this Wednesday, I think. We had a close call. That's all I'm going to say. It was a close call, but probably not the type that you would think, but there was a close call. Yeah, it should be this Wednesday. You'll want to watch that one towards the end. You'll see.
Yeah.
There's been some tense moments already.
I've got Bobby Grubb. I've sent him a link of Grubb Mudd. I've sent him the link. Hopefully he'll be here in a moment. And maybe he's trying to get connected. I'm not sure. So I was hoping to see him before we got off of here. But I can't remember a time of cutting a ball in the boom pump from sucking back. I'd have to ask Bill if he ever has. I know we've lost them where they've just gotten kind of rigid from being grouted up and not washed out real good. But I've seen in the washout pits, I have seen cut balls at the washout pits, but I don't think I've ever cut a ball.
Where I see it is if I do 1 sponge, I suck it back all the way, hear the echo, the sound of the ocean of the elbow, bunch of water, and then a second sponge. When that water in front of the second sponge hits the first one, it'll flush it through the S tube, and that's where it can cut it. But to do it with just 1 sponge, it's really tough to do it. I've done it before, but it's a very determined effort to make that first sponge actually travel into and through the S tube for sure. But yeah, I think it's the guy sucking 2 sponges with water in between. That's why I've got that pin stopper. Oh shit! Wow.
Guys, welcome Bobby Grubb of Grubb Mudd to the forum, I guess you could say. Have we got you, Bob? I'm not sure. He looks frozen.
Oh.
Maybe he'll come back in.
Frozen. I'll give him a couple minutes.
Yep. We got into here he comes. Hope we got him now. There you are.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys?
Have you got
the president YouTube royalty?
I just was at a rewards show. It's like a little community. I got YouTube Shorts Creator of the Year.
Oh,
really?
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It's not a real big community, but it's still an accomplishment, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know the two guys. Caleb, I guess I see your name, but I haven't met you yet. What's the name of your channel?
Concrete Puppy Service.
Oh, yeah, I have seen your channel. I think I'm subscribed, but I'll make sure I am.
Well,
Salute.
Thank you.
What's up, Canadian Concrete Pumper?
Not much, man. Just chilling out in the country here at the cabin.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So what you've hit it big on YouTube in the last year or two here. What's the secret, man?
For me, it was just finding something early, and kind of getting, you know how like the early bird kind of gets worm, but I don't know. Shorts are so weird. Like I've been looking at my analytics, and I'm trying to figure out some sort of a path why these things, some go viral and some don't, because some of them will have the same amount of like, I think really what it is to get a short to go viral, you have to have a strong comment section going on, to be honest with you. It's weird, but I think people like to read those comments, and you have to pin a good one, or there's different ways you can do things. But I think getting a funny comment section or a good comment section kind of going, I think kind of makes those shorts kind of go a little bit better. I don't know. It's just, that's what I've noticed.
Probably one of our biggest video that went viral as far as we're concerned. It was everybody was making comments about the guys not picking the rebar up. And that video just took off. And it was just a nothing special video.
They had something to complain about.
Seriously.
It's weird. Usually it's a comment that's kind of, I don't know. But yeah, like the wire mesh policer, I think they're even more strong on the, I don't know. They're pretty bad on long form, but you know, it's fun. I try to chop it up with them a little bit, because I know a lot of people don't really reply to YouTube Shorts comments, and I try to, at least for the first couple of hours after they're posted, because I try to get, and it does kind of get something going, I think. You know, so that's something. And me and Jeff were talking about just talking with comments. I think all you guys respond, don't you, to comments especially on the long form?
Yeah, it's very important too.
Yeah.
Hey, Bobby, do you have the YouTube closed out on your end?
Yeah.
We got an echo going on.
You hear an echo?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me jump out and I'll come right back in. You might have to bring me back in.
Okay. Yeah, I think he might have had his YouTube app open or something, because we didn't have the echo, and then when he popped up, then we started. I don't know if y'all noticed the echo going on.
Yeah, I know. A couple of people have commented as well too. So that's actually a good question. Maybe we'll wait for him to come back, but along the lines of the comments and responding and whatnot, or maybe he's watching, or we'll debrief when he gets back in. As the channel grows, you can't respond to I respond to every single comment within the first month of the video, at least. You know, stuff gets older and I lose track of it. But at what point can you not respond to everything, right? Like there's a lot of, you know, it's definitely a lot of time commitment.
Yes.
I like to respond to everything, especially the good questions. I I don't take much stuff down. The only stuff I take down is if it's completely non-constructive and somebody's just being a troll.
Right,
But
exactly.
somebody can tell me I'm doing something wrong, and I'm happy to have a discussion and learn. But if somebody's just going to go off about something unrelated, some guy freaked out a week ago because I said the concrete's too goddamn wet, and he just went off on this big rant about curse words, and I'm just like, you know what, like, what do I do with this, right? So I don't know what your guys take is on that, or how you try and kind of handle it, or what do you think?
Yeah, that's and Bob and I talked about that in one of the video that we did. I've probably taken down maybe less than 5 comments, but they were either super vulgar or they were making fun of somebody in the video that couldn't defend themselves or wouldn't. And I won't tolerate that. So if you want to make fun of me for my body shape or my hair color or having 9 toes, whatever, I don't care. I got thick skin, but I'm not going to let that for someone else happen. I don't want that on my channel and that kind of stuff. But the frustrating part is if someone tells you you're doing something wrong and they're more or less making fun of you, they like to throw the word out rookie, things like that, or that's a rookie move or something like that. I'm the frustrating part is you go, okay, what is the proper way? And then they come in and they won't ever answer you back.
Jeff, I think you're talking about the same guy that always trolls me. I can't remember the name, but every video, rookie move. And I started having fun with it, and I kind of respond back. And I actually kind of, honestly, in a weird way, I kind of enjoy it. Now it's sort of like playful. He never gets like personal or anything. I wish I remembered I can't remember the username now, but it's got to be the same guy. Never anything to say except rookie move, and then he'll never respond. Like, it just is what it is, right?
We're just talking about constructive criticism and how we take it in the comments and stuff when we were answering comments and what we won't tolerate versus, you and I was talking the other day that I typically won't tolerate someone making fun of someone on my video that's defenseless. I pretty won't, or if it's just a lot of vulgar words, I won't take that. But I don't mind a cuss word every now and then, but it don't have to just be every other word and then just going off on something. But I try to answer all the comments as much as possible. It does get hard on something that you are getting hammered with, but I do try to, especially the ones that are really constructive.
Do you hear an echo now?
No, we're good now.
Yeah, you're good now, buddy.
All right, I had to do a little finagle, and I'm sorry about that. I hope I didn't ruin the show.
No,
man, I swear it's always one thing or another when I'm trying to learn tech. You know what I mean? I'm not a tech expert, but I do like StreamYard. It is pretty cool. But anyways, I like it. The fact when I don't know, basically, I don't mind people saying stuff like you said, as long as they don't say nothing about like my dad or anything, because he works with me, you know what I mean? Or like I look at it kind of look like most people though are really cool. I don't really ever, I'm sure every once in a while I get somebody, but I try to, I sometimes I don't look at them the same day like I used to, because I get flooded with all these shorts comments. So it used to be easy just to watch the comments as they came, but now I just go back like the next day and I check them out, and I got a lot of positivity. I'm not saying I don't ever get anybody, but I had to block somebody not too long ago for he was saying stuff about my dad, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna go with that. You know what I mean? Like kind of like what you said, Jeff. You know what I mean? He can't really do any. He's just, I don't know. I'm not gonna tolerate that.
He's just an innocent bystander.
Yeah. He looks at it like, this is your YouTube thing. It's not mine. But
yeah.
Big question for you, Bobby. It's a big one. Be ready for this. We'll put you on the hot seat here. How come you don't pump anything?
Well, if it could be buggied, I usually just buggy it. Here's a big thing is what I've noticed is, well, they're kind of expensive in my area, but usually there's nothing I do that I can't do with the Georgia buggy. But I don't like having to schedule a pump, scheduling the concrete, scheduling my help. It just eliminates one thing that I don't have to worry about that. And then if I relied on a pump and it gets rained out or something, then I got to reschedule, you know what I mean? And just make sure like, so it doesn't bother me to Georgia buggy. I don't mind I'm just used to it. The thing I've always learned is pump if I have to. If I don't have to pump, that's the extra money I save. You know what I mean? And then the other guys I used to work for, they weren't getting a pump. They used to say, "You guys all are gonna hate me for this." They used to say, "Pumps are for we'll just say pansies."
Uh,
Sorry, but look, that's what I grew up on. So, and I don't really think that, and I'm sure everybody in your chat's gonna hate me. But
I used to,
no,
I used to ride Mike Day's butt on his comments because everything he does, he needs a trailer pump or a boom pump. You know, using those
yeah,
chutes down in those basements and all that stuff. I'm going, dude, you're killing your guys. The whole deal. Well, lo and behold, he gets a pump, and he gets an operator that I don't think had very much experience, and
yeah,
he had some issues with that. And I just thought, well, I guess I'm gonna leave him alone because
yeah.
he finally gets a pump and he has some issues. You know, I think the guy plugged on the prime out and some other things.
That's
Uh,
how I'm used to doing is with those stupid chutes on basements. We haven't poured a basement in a long time, thank God. But those double chutes, you got a 12-footer connected to the 16-foot truck's chute. Then you got another 16-footer sitting on a ladder out in the middle of a basement.
you're
And
right.
you're just asking for that's dangerous as heck. Don't do that stuff. Just get a pump. We just don't pour basements in. But pool decks. If I ever did a pool deck, I would like to pump that because those are hard to do with the buggy and keep everything clean. There's certain things, walls, you got to pump walls, pretty
Right.
much. I don't think you can get away with doing those, especially those Fox blocks wall. Have you guys ever used Fox block?
oh, like
Uh,
block fill,
I,
masonry block.
no,
It's
ICF.
ICF. The
Oh
Yeah,
ICF
yeah,
block.
we see that more.
I just pumped some ICF walls like 2 weeks ago. I'll have a video coming out
yeah.
soon.
You're not Georgia buggy in that.
No.
No.
I think we just pump most everything in our area, especially with our own
Yeah.
crew, because we have our own pumps.
Oh
And
yeah.
we've got the small rock mix with the 2-inch line mix. It's so easy. If we were dragging 4-inch hose around dealing with large aggregate, using a pump would be it would make a lot less sense. But yeah, we have them. It's easy. The operator can. We're not supposed to do this, but the operator can run the hose and the pump at the same time. It makes it easier in our application for sure. So
And I've had a lot of bad experience. Like I was telling Jeff this, man. I've had a lot of times where we'd use 3-inch hose when we probably should have been using 4-inch. And thank goodness for your guys' channels because I learned a lot of times that it's actually the type of mix I was using or whatever. Or not me, but I don't think I've ever pumped anything. I was gonna pump something because my company's not that old, but I was gonna pump something. But then I found out that you can get Georgia buggies with a propane tank on it to where in a snuffer, so you can run them in a building. And I was like, well, I'm just going to use the Georgia buggy. But I'm kind of like Mike Day, concrete with the hosses, and like they pump stuff every once in a while. But it's weird, like Midwest people, for some reason, man, we like to work harder, I guess, and stupid, you know what I mean? But
Yep.
it is a cost that we save, I guess. Um, $1,500 for a Georgia buggy. A pump costs almost that. It depends. Like you can go to a different one, but you can get if you're pumping all day long, I'm pretty sure it'd be over $1,000 around here, but I can't say for sure. It's mainly the scheduling.
Yeah. 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 And talking to Mike Simon over at Dirt Perfect, I think his a video he had. He was actually pouring into a bucket of an excavator and then reaching inside of this garage and
Yeah,
dumping it. And I asked Mike, I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Man, we've just had so much trouble with those things pumping that it's by the time we finally figure out what's going on and get things, taken care of, I can have it already dumped out with my excavator bucket." And I'm
yeah,
like, well, you can't argue with that, but it's like I was telling someone earlier. I keep batch designs in my phone, and if I don't know the concrete company that's bringing it, I'll make sure they have a batch design that's used by another company in our area, and that way they can get it from me. And you learn those little tricks. You learn that 50-50 mix, 35 psi, what your weights and all that stuff. But a lot of times they've got to have a batch design on record.
Where are you from, Caleb? What
Uh,
Midwest?
yeah, South Dakota, Sioux Falls is where I'm based
Oh,
out
okay.
of.
All right.
Yeah, so
So do
everybody
you got?
uses more Georgia buggies up here.
So
Every-
are they using stone mix up there, or like a limestone mix, or is it a?
Quartz, crushed quartz is what we use most. I
Oh,
mean, unless you're doing shotcrete, then you're getting pea gravel. But everything is like my line pump mix that I always request to use is a 3/8 crushed quartz mix.
3/8. Okay.
Yep.
So we're using a 3/4 like minus, I would say, a stone mix, which is jagged. Um, the round rocks, like not pea gravel, but like the 1/2 inch and even the 3/4 minus on the river rock that they put in the mix. I think that would pump better. I just think the jagged stone mixes that we want on our driveways because you get less pop outs from the surface. So I, I do like the fact if you set up a driveway to pump and you don't have to pull that a front end truck saves a lot too. So that's another reason we don't pump. But if you don't have to get those trucks in that driveway and get ruts where you're going to be pouring, uh, if you can have that compacted done and everything and just pump it into it and then come to your curb, that's so sweet. Like, but if you have to pull a truck in there and then get the bobcat out there and fix the ruts of the truck, because them trucks are obviously so if you don't have to do that, that's definitely better for the subgrade, and it's a lot better and easier on your guys. And sometimes if you can put plywood down, but those concrete trucks are so heavy they'll just bust through that plywood.
Oh yeah.
It's there's a curve to it. I remember even I wasn't the first one in our area to have the trailer pump, and I don't know what those guys went through or what they're the size of hose they were carrying, but I felt like we were having to talk to nearly every ready mix company about their batch designs for trailer pumps. And I'm just not sure that the guys before us did the proper education on those guys on what it took to get that concrete to move through our system. We had a lot of arguments. I spent my first year, 50% of me was in doubt that my pump was any good. and then once I figured out my pump is okay, then it's the other part is you got to start arguing with the batch guys who are going, well, I sent you a 50-50 mix. I go, no, you didn't. My pump's not pumping it. You didn't send me that. And then you throw in other variables. Say you get 2 inches of rain over the weekend, and now their sand's heavy, and they didn't go in and figure out the percentage of water weight that's in their sand. They're like, well, I batched you a 50-50. Well, you might have batched me the poundage for 50-50, but I didn't get a 50-50 mix because your sand's weighing, a lot more because of the water volume that's in it because of all the rain, and we're not able to pump it. You got to there's so much that you really got to pay attention to when you're having issues, because the first thing that everybody's going to do is go, what's wrong with your pump? And then you've got to come back with something to get them off of you.
Have you ever noticed, Jeff, that on job sites, especially commercial sites, there's an issue with a pump, all of a sudden the concrete's going to time out. Oh, it's been 2 hours, start sending loads away. But if the pump's fine and there's an issue with the pour, they'll keep those same loads around for 6-7 hours. The minute there's an issue with the pump, we'll just send them away and back charge the pump company. Man, we see that all the time. All the time. Only applies when there's a problem with the pump, right?
Yeah.
The struggle.
Yeah. When it's convenient to them.
Absolutely. But it is what it is, right?
Well, Bobby, thank you for coming on. We've been in this for 2 hours, buddy. It doesn't seem like it. Time's flying by, but
there's a few people still sticking with us. Got to give them big thanks for that.
Salute to the chat.
I'm glad you're free to come on, and hopefully we can do something else in the future with all of us.
Yeah, sorry about coming late. I was over there at that YouTube Streets Awards, and yeah, so I had to get my plaque for my fake plaque for the
Congratulations.
I'll tell you what, you've done a phenomenal job, and I want to congratulate you on what you have done with your channel. I mean,
thanks.
it seemed like it was just yesterday. You was trying to get me to do some kind of moonwalking deal with you.
Yeah. Yeah, that was for that was for Victory's channel. He wanted some people to do a moonwalk. I accidentally posted that on Facebook. I was like, people are like, what did Ryan ask for? I'm like, long story. I'm like, yeah, it was a moonwalk thing, and yeah, but yeah, yeah, that probably wasn't the best idea. It was cool to do, but yeah, now
Oh, it'd
you
been fun, but I think you kind of know me now and kind of maybe understand why I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know about that.
Yeah, yeah, he'd had this super secret trick, and it was back. I don't know how he needed to moonwalk with the handles in his hand to be able to get the joiner to come back without, perfectly or whatever. And so I had just happened to be on a job where I had the poles in my hand, and I was like, I'm just gonna moonwalk, and then I sent something to Jeff, and I don't think my delivery of what it was, because he's like, I'll have to think about that one. But yeah, I appreciate it, and I'll have to come back on a time when when I know what the topics are and stuff. I'll definitely chop it up with you guys. It was fun for the little time I was on here.
We need to have you back,
Absolutely.
Bobby, when the winner of the Sponge Challenge has been determined. I don't know if you've been following that at all.
Oh,
I got my trophy here.
yeah, okay,
I'm not assuming I'm going to win, but if I do, I'm ready.
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, you'll have to celebrate with us when
Okay.
that's all wrapped up and there's a definitive winner.
Hey, Jeff's you're a paper bag person, aren't you? Or newspaper? Is it? How do you do it? You don't use
I use the mason. I prime out with masonry mixed, and then the leftover sack is what I use to actually blow my lines out with, or suck the material back. So yeah, Scott knows he's getting me out of my comfort zone. He knows.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, bro. Caleb, I'm already subscribed to you, man. I try to support everybody in the concrete niche, and I already got you. And it looks like you're creeping up on 1,000. So just keep on grinding, bro. You'll get there.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so
Appreciate
any of the
that.
guys, any of the guys that are on here in the comment stuff, y'all check out Caleb's channel if y'all haven't. Give him a subscribe and help support all of us. We really appreciate y'all hanging out here with us. Caleb, thank you. Scott, Bobby, thank y'all very much. We'll try to do it again soon. Hopefully we can get
Thanks
Darren.
again, Jeff, for queuing all this up. You did all the legwork on this too, so I really appreciate you doing that, and super impressed with the amount of people that have followed us through this, and I think it's safe to say it's probably something we'll do again, and yeah, I look forward to it.
Absolutely. All right,
Yep.
guys, I'm tell y'all good night. Thank y'all for all the comments. We really appreciate it. And y'all stay safe, stay hydrated, and don't forget to lock the hubs in. We'll catch y'all later.
Good night,
Peace.
gentlemen. Talk to you later.
See you guys.